Welcome to Stuck in the Gravel. You're here with Daniel
and Chloe.
Today we'll be discussing the fourth round of the Formula One season, held in Sakhir, Bahrain.
Starting off with FP1. As more soft-shod laps came in and the times continued to tumble, it was Norris who had gone the fastest, with his effort of 1 minute 33.2. 2 tenths faster than Gasly in second, while Hamilton slotted into third for Ferrari after completing his soft run later in the session. Albon, who reported a loss of power in the closing stages, held on to fourth, ahead of Haas's Esteban Ocon in fifth, and Hulkenberg in sixth. Jack Doohan was seventh for Alpine, with Lawson, Tsunoda and McLaren's Oscar Piastri completing the top 10. Bortoleto ended the hour in 11th, followed by Racing Bull's Isaac Hadjar. Browning and Boganovic. The Aston Martins of Lance Stroll and Drogovic took 15th and 16th respectively, with Hirakawa and Besti Iwasa and Antonelli, who missed out on most of the session due to those aforementioned car issues, rounding out the order.
Now, here's your top 10 from free practice 1. Lando Norris from McLaren in first with a 1 minute 33.204. Pierre Gasly in the Alpine rounds out in second, being almost 2.5 tenths behind. Lewis Hamilton in third, being almost 6 tenths behind. Oscar Piastri in fourth. George Russell in fifth. Charles Leclerc in sixth. Max Verstappen in seventh. Carlos Sainz in eighth. Esteban Ocon in ninth. And Andrea Kimi Antonelli in 10th.
However, in FP2, as the minutes ticked by and every driver completed a lap with the red marked rubber, the McLarens impressively moved to the fore. Piastri pumping in a 1 minute 30.5 and Norris a 1 minute 30.6 to put the Papaya cars around half a second clear of the field. Russell grabbed the best of the rest slot with his own improvement of 5 tenths back. With Ferrari's Leclerc taking fourth over Antonelli, high-flying Racing Bull's rookie Isaac Hadjar and Verstappen, who reported further issues relating to his brakes later on. Hamilton wound up in 8th in the sister Ferrari as the team completed back-to-backs with their new floor design, followed by the Haas youngster, Ollie Behrman. The two Williams machines of Sainz and Alex Albon and Liam Lawson's Racing Bulls car. Gabriel Bortoleto found plenty of time on his soft-shod run to place 13th. From Alpine's Jack Doohan, the compromised Alonso, who made it back out but finished with fewer than 20 laps, and the Haas of Esteban Ocon. Pierre Gasly put his Alpine 17th in front of Red Bull's Yuki Tsunoda, who continued to get to grips with the science room that is the RB21. While Aston Martin driver Lance Stroll and the Kick Sauber of Nico Hulkenberg completed the order.
Now, here's your results from free practice 2. Oscar Piastri in first with a 1 minute 30.505. Lando Norris almost 1.5 tenths behind. George Russell in third, being 5.25 tenths behind. Charles Leclerc in fourth, being almost 5.5 tenths behind. Andrea Antonelli in fifth, being 7.25 tenths back. In sixth, it's Isaac Hadjar, being 7 tenths behind. Max Verstappen being 8.25 tenths. Lewis Hamilton being over a second behind. Oliver Behrman being over a second behind. And Carlos Sainz being 1.1 seconds behind.
As the clock ticked down in FP3, attention turned to flying runs and a flurry of quick times saw the order on the timesheets rapidly evolve. When this had shaken out, Piastri had set an impressive benchmark of 1 minute 31.6. While others tried to challenge, teammate Lando Norris was still 6 tenths back as the closest rival in second. Leclerc took the accolade of being the only other car within a second of Piastri in third, with Russell and Kimi Antonelli further off for Mercedes in fourth and fifth respectively. Pierre Gasly was an eye-catching sixth for Alpine, while Racing Bull's Isaac Hadjar, Verstappen, Williams' Carlos Sainz and Hamilton completed the top 10. Ocon led Haas's charge in P11 from Jack Doohan in the Alpine, Lawson, Alonso and the Williams of Alex Albon. Behrman claimed P16, leading the way from Aston Martin's Lance Stroll, and Bortoleto in P17 and P18, while Hulkenberg was P19 after being able to rejoin into the action. Yuki Tsunoda, meanwhile, brought up the rear in 20th place for Red Bull.
Now, on to qualifying. Oscar Piastri secured pole position with a lap time of 1 minute 29.841. George Russell and Kimi Antonelli originally qualified second and fourth, respectively, but both received grid penalties for procedural violations during the red flag period, promoting Charles Leclerc to the front row. Your top 10 results are Oscar Piastri in first, Charles Leclerc in second, George Russell in third, Pierre Gasly in fourth, Kimi Antonelli in fifth, Lando Norris in sixth, Max Verstappen in seventh, Carlos Sainz in eighth, Lewis Hamilton in ninth, and Yuki Tsunoda in 10th.
On to the race overview for Sunday. The Bahrain Grand Prix weekend was characterised by hot and dry conditions, the temperatures peaking at 34 degrees Celsius and no chance of rain. Northerly winds reached up to 30 km per hour, adding a layer of complexity to car setups and tyre management.
McLaren entered the weekend with strong momentum, having shown impressive pace in the early season. Oscar Piastri secured pole position, highlighting McLaren's competitiveness. The team aimed to capitalise on their form to challenge for both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championships.
Oscar Piastri clinched pole with a lap time of 1 minute 29.841. George Russell and Charles Leclerc followed closely. However, both Russell and Mercedes rookie Andrea Kimi Antonelli received one-place grid penalties for procedural violations during a red flag in Q2, promoting Leclerc to the front row.
At lights out, Piastri maintained his lead. Lando Norris had a rapid start, jumping from 6th to 3rd, but was later penalised 5 seconds for a false start, as reported by Max Verstappen.
So, some of the key moments and battles. Kimi Antonelli impressed with multiple overtakes, showcasing his racecraft in his debut season. Lewis Hamilton, now with Ferrari, executes several strategic passes to finish 5th.
George Russell attempted an aggressive strategy by extending his stint on soft tyres, aiming to undercut Piastri. However, Piastri's consistent pace nullified the attempt, allowing him to maintain his lead.
A mid-race safety car was deployed following a collision between Yuki Tsunoda and Carlos Sainz. This incident prompted a flurry of pit stops and reshuffled the race order, but Piastri managed to restart effectively to retain his advantage.
Lando Norris received a 5-second penalty for a false start. Carlos Sainz, Liam Lawson and Jack Doohan also incurred time penalties for various infractions. Despite these setbacks, Norris secured a podium finish.
So, our top finishers were Oscar Piastri, who dominated the race from pole, showcasing maturity and pace to secure his second win of the season. George Russell at Mercedes overcame brake issues to finish second, demonstrating resilience and strategic acumen. And Lando Norris with McLaren, who recovered from a penalty to claim third, highlighting his determination and race pace.
Pierre Gasly in the Alpine delivered a solid performance, finishing 7th. Esteban Ocon in the Haas and Yuki Tsunoda in the Red Bull engaged in close battles, with Ocon finishing 8th.
Max Verstappen faced challenges including pit stop issues and on-track battles, resulting in a 6th place finish. Carlos Sainz retired after a collision and Jack Doohan finished 15th, raising questions about their performances.
Kimi Antonelli in the Mercedes impressed with aggressive overtakes and finished 5th, marking a strong start to his F1 career. Oliver Behrman in the Haas climbed from 20th to 10th, securing his first F1 point and demonstrating potential.
McLaren achieved a 1-3 finish, solidifying their position as championship contenders. Russell's podium and Antonelli's top 5 finish indicate a strong package for Mercedes. Consistent point finishes from both drivers at Ferrari, but they still lack the pace to challenge for the win. Red Bull struggled with the strategy and execution, leading to a 6th place finish for Verstappen.
McLaren extended their lead in the constructors' standings with 151 points, followed by Mercedes with 93, Red Bull with 71, and Ferrari with 57.
Teams introduced various upgrades for Bahrain, with McLaren's aerodynamic enhancements contributing to their strong performance.
Some fans' discussions over that weekend. The F1 community praised Piastri's commanding win and Antonelli's impressive debut at Bahrain. Norris's recovery drive also garnered attention.
Post-race radio messages revealed a mix of elation and frustration among drivers, capturing the emotional highs and lows of the race.
Looking ahead, championship implications. Piastri's victory narrows the gap to Norris in the Drivers' Championship, intensifying the intra-team rivalry at McLaren. Verstappen's struggles have put him on the back foot early into the season.
So, now looking at the Jeddah Corniche circuit in Saudi Arabia for round 5 of the 2025 F1 season. So, the circuit length is 6.174 kilometres and there's about 50 laps. The race distance is 308.7 kilometres and the first Grand Prix held there was 2021. The Jeddah Corniche circuit is known for its high-speed layout and challenging corners, making it one of the fastest street circuits on the calendar.
Expecting hot and humid conditions throughout the weekend. On Friday, April 18th, ambient temperatures reaching up to 35 degrees Celsius with 42% humidity during the day, dropping to 27 degrees Celsius and 53% humidity in the evening. For Saturday, similar conditions to Friday with no rain expected. And for Sunday, race day temperatures around 31 degrees Celsius with track temperatures potentially reaching 50 degrees C. These conditions will challenge teams' tyre management and cooling strategies.
Prior to the race at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, the Drivers' Championship had Lando Norris at the top with 77 points. Oscar Piastri was following closely in second with 74 points. Max Verstappen was third with 69. George Russell was fourth with 63 points. Charles Leclerc was fifth with 32 points. Kimi Antonelli followed in sixth. And Lewis Hamilton followed in seventh. The Constructors' Championship was led by McLaren with 151 points. Mercedes were in second with 93 points. Red Bull were in third with 71 points and Ferrari in fourth with 57 points. McLaren lead both championships with Norris and Piastri closely contesting for the driver's title.
Some team insights for the weekend. McLaren, with 3 wins in the first 4 races, McLaren aims to maintain its momentum. Piastri, fresh off a victory in Bahrain, is poised to challenge Norris for the championship lead. Mercedes, Russell's consistent podium finishes and Antonelli's impressive rookie performances keep Mercedes in contention. For Red Bull, after a challenging race in Bahrain, Verstappen looks to rebound in Jeddah, where he has previously secured victories. And for Ferrari, Leclerc and Hamilton aim to capitalise on the car's pace, seeking podium finishes to boost their standings.
Max Verstappen stormed to an incredible pole position for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, amid a dramatic end to qualifying that saw the Dutchman beat Oscar Piastri by just 1/100th of a second, while Lando Norris suffered a hefty crash early in Q3, with the McLarens entering the sessions as the favourites after strong outings in the weekend's practice sessions. All eyes were on whether Piastri or Norris might clinch P1 as the final segment of qualifying got underway. But just as Piastri crossed the line to put the first time on the board, Norris had a moment over the curbs that sent the Briton into the wall at the exit of turn 5, bringing the Britain's session to a premature end and triggering a red flag. When the action resumed, a thrilling battle for pole ensued, with George Russell initially grabbing P1 before being displaced by Piastri, only for Verstappen to surge through on a lap of 1 minute 27.294. The Red Bull driver beating Piastri by just 0.10 of a second. This pushed Russell down into third in the Mercedes, ahead of Ferrari Charles Leclerc in fourth, and the other Silver Arrows machine of Kimi Antonelli in fifth. Carlos Sainz, meanwhile, was a solid sixth, marking his best qualifying performance for Williams so far.
Race start and early incidents. There was early drama as the race got underway at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, with pole sitter Max Verstappen and second place Piastri going wheel to wheel before Verstappen cut the apex into the first corner. While the Dutchman initially held the lead, a 5-second time penalty for the manoeuvre saw him drop behind the McLaren man after serving the punishment at his pit stop. For Lando Norris, embarking on a recovery drive P10 after his qualifying crash on Saturday, inherited the lead for some time as the front runners pitted, with the Briton having opted for a longer first stint by starting on the hard tyres, but Piastri took over P1 when his teammate stopped for medium rubber, the 24-year-old going on to eke out an advantage at the front. From there, Piastri was untroubled at the front, taking the checkered flag by 2.8 seconds from the Red Bull of Verstappen, while Ferrari's Charles Leclerc sealed third to claim his maiden podium of the season. Norris had to settle for fourth despite trying to chase down Leclerc until the end, with the Mercedes pair of George Russell and Kimi Antonelli following in 5th and 6th respectively. Lewis Hamilton, meanwhile, added to Ferrari's points tally in 7th. Another squad taking home a double points result was Williams, Carlos Sainz claiming P8 to mark his best result so far for the Grove-based squad, while teammate Alex Albon was just behind in P9. The tied driver holding off the Racing Bulls, Isaac Hadjar, despite a close challenge to the end.
Some of the standout overtakes were completed by Oscar Piastri, who executed a decisive overtake on Verstappen, showcasing his racecraft and securing the lead. The rookie Isaac Hadjar impressed with a bold move, overtaking both Fernando Alonso and Liam Lawson in a single manoeuvre. Most teams adopted a one-stop strategy, starting on the C3 medium tyre and switching to the C2 hard tyre. The early safety car influenced pit stop timings, with several drivers pitting to capitalise on the reduced time loss. The initial safety car period, due to the Tsunoda Gasly incident, impacted race strategies. No major penalties were reported during the race, allowing for uninterrupted competition.
For driver performances, the top finishers were Oscar Piastri. He demonstrated exceptional skill, securing his third win of the season and taking the lead in the Drivers' Championship. Max Verstappen, who finished second, was unable to reclaim the lead after Piastri's overtake. And for Charles Leclerc, he delivered a strong performance, earning Ferrari's first podium of the season. Lando Norris recovered from 10th to finish 4th, showcasing resilience after his qualifying crash. George Russell maintained consistency with a 5th place finish, contributing valuable points to Mercedes. Jack Doohan continued to struggle, finishing 15th and facing speculation about his future with the team. Isaac Hadjar for Racing Bulls impressed with aggressive overtakes and adaptability on the challenging circuit.
On to overall team performances. McLaren continued their strong form, with Piastri's win and Norris's recovery drive. Red Bull showed competitiveness, though they were unable to secure a win. Ferrari, with Leclerc's podium finish marked a positive step forwards. McLaren extended their lead in the Constructors' Championship, capitalising on consistent performances from both drivers. Teams introduced various upgrades to adapt to Jeddah's high-speed demands, including aerodynamic adjustments and cooling enhancements.
The race sparked significant online engagement, with fans praising Piastri's performance and discussing Norris's recovery. Memes and discussions highlighted the exciting on-track battles and strategic plays.
Piastri's victory propelled him to the top of the Drivers' Championship, intensifying the title race as the season progresses.
The upcoming Miami Grand Prix presents a different challenge with its unique circuit characteristics. Teams will need to adapt strategies accordingly, with McLaren aiming to maintain their momentum. The 2025 Formula 1 Crypto.com Miami Grand Prix is set to take place from May 2nd to May 4th at the Miami International Autodrome in Miami Gardens, Florida. This marks the 4th edition of the race and the 6th round of the 2025 Formula 1 World Championship.
The length of the track is 5.412 kilometres, or 3.363 miles. There are 57 laps, and the total distance is 308.326 kilometres, or 191.584 miles. It is a temporary street circuit surrounding the Hard Rock Stadium, and it features 19 corners, 3 DRS zones, with the top speeds exceeding 350 km per hour. Some of the notable sections include elevation changes between turns 13 to 16, including an overpass and an underpass, and a challenging chicane at turns 14 to 15, with an uphill approach and downhill exit.
The weekend schedule, local time UTC-4. On Friday, May 2nd, free practice is expected to start at 12:30 p.m. Sprint qualifying at 4:30 p.m. On Saturday, May 3rd, 12 p.m. for the sprint race, which is 19 laps, and at 4 p.m. qualifying for the Grand Prix. On Sunday, May 4th, at 4 p.m. the Grand Prix race is meant to start, being 57 laps.
Miami is the second of 6 Grand Prix in the 2025 season to feature the sprint format. This includes a single practice session, sprint qualifying, and a 100-kilometre sprint race on Saturday, awarding points, followed by the main race on Sunday.
The Miami Grand Prix has rapidly become a marquee event, blending high-speed racing with vibrant entertainment. The race attracts a diverse and youthful audience, with significant growth among fans 20 to 30, and a notable increase in female attendees. The event's festival-like atmosphere, complete with music and celebrity appearances, sets it apart from traditional motorsport events. In 2024, the event achieved a sellout crowd of 275,000, and ticket sales remain strong for 2025, drawing fans from across the Americas and beyond.
Several teams are showcasing unique liveries to celebrate their Miami Grand Prix, with Ferrari featuring white accents on their cars, with drivers Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc donning all-white race suits. Racing Bulls are embracing a bold pink theme, transforming their car and uniforms in a tribute reminiscent of Barbie. Sauber are introducing a vibrant design inspired by Miami's creative spirit. Mercedes are incorporating pink details into their uniforms and helmets, extending the aesthetic to their F1 Academy representation with driver Dorian Pim.
Now, the championship standings before the race. In the Drivers' Championship, Oscar Piastri leads the way for McLaren with 99 points, followed by teammate Lando Norris with 89 points. Max Verstappen in third place for Red Bull with 87 points. As we move on to Constructors' Championship, McLaren lead the way with 188 points, Mercedes in second with 111 points, and Red Bull Racing in third with 89 points.
Some storylines to watch out for. Max Verstappen's return. After missing Thursday's media duties due to personal reasons, Verstappen is set to compete, aiming to close the championship gap to Piastri. McLaren's momentum. With both drivers leading the standings, McLaren looks to extend their advantage. Sprint impact. The sprint format could shake up the grid, offering opportunities for midfield teams to capitalise.
31 years ago, we lost the lives of two fantastic Formula One drivers. Here at Stuck in the Gravel, we would like to share our condolences towards the families of both Ayrton Senna and Roland Ratzenberger. They will be deeply missed. Ayrton Senna da Silva was more than a triple Formula One world champion. He was a symbol of passion, precision, and profound humanity. His relentless pursuit of perfection on the track was matched by his deep empathy for it. Roland Ratzenberger's journey to Formula One was marked by determination and perseverance. After years in junior categories, he achieved his dream of competing at the pinnacle of motorsport with the Simtek team in 1994. Tragically, his life was cut short during qualifying at Imola a day before Senna's fatal accident.
Now, moving on to our race predictions.
So, for F1 Academy poll, I have gone for Maya Vug. Who have you gone for?
I also went for Maya Vug.
I completely agree. I think if we look at how she's been this season, I think she's performed well, and I think she's got that one lap pace when she needs it. I mean, if we look at Jeddah, considering that second race, we know that she won that. People will say maybe she won that due to Chloe Chambers' penalty, but Chloe Chambers did do an unnecessary move on her. But
yeah.
Who's your race one winner?
So for my race one winner, I put Dorian Pin.
I've gone for Chloe Chambers. I think she's a very good driver. I believe she'll win because if we saw, going back to Jeddah, we saw that she performed when she needed to. Maybe just deciding, holding back maybe one more corner before she makes the move, it could help her out. It's whatever, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
For race 2, I've gone for Nina Gademan. How about you?
I went for Chloe Chambers. Like you were saying, she's capable. She's definitely proved that. It might just be a judgment call kind of thing of choosing when not to make moves.
I went with Nina Gademan. I mean, considering she had quite a horrifying crash at Jeddah a couple of weeks ago, she's been able to relax herself, recover. I mean, she considering she was injured and she was, she's had that mental block since that crash at Jeddah. She went into the Jeddah weekend and she performed quite well. So if that's how she performs when she's injured and she's not at her peak physical fitness, what can we expect from her this weekend? She's had some more time to recover. Can we get a victory out of her. I mean, you have got to think about Ella Lloyd as well. I think she's pretty good. I think, she won out in Jeddah. Potentially we could see something from her as well. Should we move on to F1?
So, for pole, I have gone with Kimi Antonelli. I think that for pole, there's so many contenders.
Yeah. I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah.
There is a lot.
I think it's really hard this season to call who's going to be on pole because the amount of people that will all drivers that just hitting the pace kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it makes it a bit better in my opinion because I think if there's, I'm going to say 6-7 drivers in the chance of pole,
yeah,
it makes it more entertaining. I mean, we've seen Lando Norris qualifying P6 at Bahrain, then obviously P10 at Jeddah because of the crash. But, all it takes is one mess up. Like we saw at Lando, for Lando at Jeddah, it was, he went into turn 5 too fast, in my opinion, oversteered, went into the wall. There's not much that could happen. Yeah. He, the curbs at Jeddah were quite high and they're quite unforgiving.
Yeah.
They do not care. If you ride over them too much, they will send you into the wall, as we saw with Lando. Which is why I've gone for Lando as the pole at Miami. Bringing it back to where he got his first win, I believe that maybe we can get a sense of him coming back, getting the feel. He's had the feel for the car now. He's had a bit of a break, chilled. Hopefully he can come back. I mean, he's even said in interviews he needs to come back or else it'll become more so like he doesn't want Oscar to run away with the championship as he is. I mean, he is 10 points ahead, yes, but it's a case of he just needs to calm down, be confident, don't listen to any of the hate because the hate is unnecessary. It's so forced. But yeah, in my opinion, I think Lando goes for pole. Should we move on to the race winner?
I think that Lando will be the race winner for the Grand Prix. I think obviously it would be nice for him to win
2 years
at
on the bounce.
Miami again because obviously on the Monday following the race, it was a year ago that he got his first race win at the same circuit.
Yeah.
And I think it would be quite nice for him to be able to mark that. I also do agree with you about he knows that he needs to kind of come back for Oscar because otherwise
Yeah, I know what you mean.
he'll run away with this championship.
Yeah.
But I think, like we were saying, when drivers get on pole, it kind of gives them this new kind of confidence or new.
It gives them a
This
layer
hope.
to, like a little bit of a
Even if
backup.
they're
They've
not-
got something to fall back on,
Yeah, but even if they're not performing well, as soon as they get pole, they tend to perform
Yeah.
completely different to how we've been seeing them perform. So I think, it's
Yeah, I mean, for all we know, we could start to see a bit of Oscar dropping off.
Yeah.
He's had this form. He's already got 4 wins this season? No,
through.
3. 3 wins this season already. Lando's got 1. Max has 1. So, is it time that Oscar drops off, or will Oscar keep pushing on as he is? Because he's doing fantastic, and I will agree he's doing fantastic. But from what we've seen, he's been put into a car, and he's striked well into that McLaren team. I think being in his 3rd season, it's a case of he's more so never really had the car that's been thrown straight at the back of the grid. I mean, he did in his 1st season, but within a couple of weekends, it was back where it needed to be. So, for people out there saying that Lando isn't as good as Oscar, it's a bit of a hit and miss one because, I mean, I'm not being funny, but Lando has seen the very rock bottom of McLaren.
True.
And has been part of the team when they've been at the rock bottom. So he's seen the team morale at the very lowest. But yeah, I've gone for Lando Norris as the winner myself. Overall, I just hope for a good result from McLaren. They can keep pushing on. They've got, a 77-point gap behind before we know it, if they keep finishing how they are. If they just need to both be confident in the car, and they both need to push on. Leave the championship aside for a little bit, the drivers. Obviously, they're going to think about it, but at the moment, they just need to relax. Championship, constructors, take that.
You saying about relaxing as well, going back to your point about Oscar, like, will he just kind of drop off? Or sometimes they'll kind of, drivers will see that they're doing really well, and obviously so they'll recognise that they're doing well. But I think sometimes they can be a bit like, oh, actually, I've got a bit of a gap, I've got a bit of a cushion, I can chill a bit. And then they take a more backseat approach of actually just finish races in points, kind of bring up the gap.
I think that's kind of what Max did last season.
Yeah, and I think you get to the point where if you do that, you can kind of end up getting to the end of the season, if it's not a season like 2023, where you've won halfway through, you can get to the end of the season and then someone just kind of goes, thank you, I love that. And
I mean, we saw that, 15 years ago with Seb. So, but yeah, that's all we've got today. So, thank you for tuning into our podcast. I've been Dan.
And I've been Chloe.
And this is Stuck in the Gravel.